Hello, everyone, and welcome to Candlelight, Nonviolence in Dark Times. I'm Rivera's son. Today, I want to talk about courage and how courage is contagious. In my novel, The Dandelion Insurrection, I wrote, when the forces of destruction, hate, bigotry, greed, and violence rise into power, there are three things they steal before they plunder the treasury: courage, hope, and joy. And preserving them is where the struggle for life begins. When authoritarians come to power, they need to put us in a state of fear and terror. And so the first front line of resistance is to break through that and find our courage, not just as individuals, but as a whole society. We are seeing that happen right now in the United States, where the feeling of paralyzed fear is shifting into bold and even outraged resistance among federal workers, among migrant communities and their allies, among the people who find this administration to be offensive. When authoritarians or dictators come into power, these acts of protest are vitally important. They undermine the perception of the omnipotence or the all-powerfulness of the regime. And they can indeed break open the start of the movements that lead to the eventual overthrow of the dictator. In Chile, when Pinochet came to power in 1973, as early as 1974, there were family members of the people who had been arrested, tortured, and disappeared, protesting to demand answers in the public plazas outside of the presidential palace. The more well-known example of this happened in Argentina a few years later during the Videla regime. Again, they were having this even worse problem with people being disappeared, literally being taken and flown out over the ocean and dropped out of planes by the tens of thousands of people were being murdered. The mothers in Argentina gathered in the plaza. They wore white kerchiefs over their hair, which symbolized the diapers they had changed, and the children they had raised, whom they were now demanding answers about. People called them the crazy women, because they thought these mothers would just be disappeared as well. But actually, they weren't. And their bold defiance was one of the first and earliest social pressures against the regime, standing up for human rights and opposing the abuses. Now, in Chile, the protests against the disappeared played a really important role of emboldening the movement that ultimately threw Pinochet out of power. The other thing that movement did that was very smart was they held a type of protest called a cacerolazo, a pots and pans banging protest. And they did this in the windows of the apartment buildings in the cities. People would take their metal pot and their wooden spoon, and they would lean out the window and go bang, 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 until all over the city, by the tens of thousands, you heard ding, 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 bang, 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 quack, 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 quack. But the police couldn't round them all up, couldn't arrest them all, couldn't stop the protest, couldn't just spray tear gas and send them home and send them packing. These weekly cacerolazos or monthly cacerolazos ended up giving people a sense of courage, a sense of solidarity, recognizing how many of them wanted change, and led to the campaign that ousted Pinochet from power. It doesn't always happen immediately or fast. Courage isn't always a big, bold action. Mary Ann Radmacher said, courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes courage is the little voice at the end of the day that says, I'll try again tomorrow. I think that's beautiful. And some groups, including the Academy of Art, Creativity, and Consciousness, identify different types of courage, that there's physical courage, of course, risking one's body and oneself in pursuit of justice or what's right. There's social courage to stand up and be yourself, or to stand up for other people's rights to be themselves, or to oppose people's views that you feel are unjust, which often takes moral courage, the third type, to do the right thing, even if it's uncomfortable or unpopular or maybe even against the law. There's also emotional courage to feel all your feelings and be honest about grief, despair, rage, but also joy and hope and vision and courage. There's intellectual courage, the courage to learn new things and change our minds. And this can be important, not just in doing things like our research around misinformation and disinformation, but also when we're in a time of great change, ourselves and everyone we know, if we're gonna see social change, are going to engage in some intellectual courage to learn something new. When we see people doing this, we should commend them for that. And of course, the last type is spiritual courage. This idea that we have a deep soulful purpose to why we are here today. I believe that this is the most pivotal moment in human history, where our future is not guaranteed, where it may be the last chapter humans ever get on this beautiful planet. And whether or not that page is turned and a new chapter unfolds, all comes down to the kind of courage that we dare to show today. Maya Angelou, the wonderful African-American poet, wrote, "Having courage does not mean that we are unafraid. Having courage and showing courage means we face our fears. We are able to say, I have fallen, but I will get up." And as individuals and as a society and even as a nation, we can say, yes, we may have fallen, but we will get up. And we will stand for everything that is just and right and true and respectful. And we will turn this page and open a new chapter for our society and for the world. Thank you so much. I'm Rivera Sun, and this is Candlelight, Nonviolence in Dark Times.